Hey guys, Justin here. No quick notes today, but our friends at Trophy Tracks are back to sponsor the car again. Do you keep track of your hunting adventures? Well, archery season is a great place to start. Keeping a journal with Trophy Tracks allows you to hunt smarter by helping you decide where to hunt and why to hunt at specific locations. Trophy Tracks is a free digital journal app that allows you to keep track of all relevant hunting information you may ever need. So download Trophy Tracks today at www.trophytracks.com. And thanks again for sponsoring this video.
You're not
I'm-
Washington.
I'm gonna run a 15-0 in qualifying. I already know it. Good win, Justin.
I'm
I
not gonna
believe-
win. Regardless of where I qualify, I'm not winning.
Why?
I'm bad at Bristol.
That's not true, probably.
This is the week Justin discovers he's actually good at Bristol and runs 8 in a row winning.
I don't think he's going to win any of them. I don't think anybody can win any.
Ooh, there's a 7-1. Alright, let's take a look at that. So we will start with our run-up just like usual. And this run-up is very important for the lap since we're making it a first lap hot lap. So what I'm doing is I'm not actually breaking it all into the corner, or if I do, it's just a tiny bit. And then what I want to do is get all out of the gas so that I want to turn down the hill slightly, but not all the way to the bottom. I only want to go about 1 to 1.5 lanes off the wall to get the most amount of speed possible. And I just want to be full throttling for as long as possible. So you see, I had to breathe a little bit there, but it was still a good amount of speed. So you can see here that the reason I don't go all the way to the bottom is because that's how you lose your rears and they disengage and you just spin your tires, and that's not building up a run up. But about the angle of going down about a lane to a lane and a half is where you can make a straighter exit than riding it along the wall while also keeping your rears engaged with the racetrack. So you see here, I drive down about a lane. And this wasn't honestly even the best that I did, but that was good enough. So what we're going to do is we do high in 1 and 2. So I'm aiming my lefts to be in the zone either between the seam and a little bit below the seam. One width of the tire below the seam is what we're aiming on entry to hit. I found that if my left side tire is too far above the seam, then I have to slow the car an extra amount down to keep it off the wall. So you see my braking point here, I just start a brake drag around where the wall turns into the red stripe on the bottom. And I start that brake drag and then we aim about a little bit below the seam. And the lower you go below this seam, the easier your entry will be, but the slower your exit will be. Because the higher you go, you're going to be able to rotate your car to drive straight off earlier. Whereas if you go low, you're going to have to almost diamond it and it'll take longer to get that straight line off. So you build less momentum. But here, I get on the brakes and then right as I feel my car not wanting to slide up to the wall anymore, I put half throttle in. This half throttle is very important because if you go full throttle, it'll still hit the wall. But by going half throttle, it maintains the status quo. And I hold that half throttle and just slowly raise it. So now you see I'm at 3/4. And then finally, the last move, the car will want to drive down the hill when you're holding it at 3/4. And now that it's driving down the hill, now I'm free to do it full throttle. It'll get a little loose sometimes depending on your car angle, but the whole key is to not go full throttle until your car starts to make that move down the hill. Okay, so we carry momentum through there, and that's very important. And now going into 3 and 4, I don't believe in this line. I don't believe in the top in 3 and 4 at any capacity. There's just some really bad bumps right here that I think just messes everything up, especially for hot lap. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to go to the bottom. We're just going to go to the bottom. And you see here, I get on the brakes very early. I get it on the brakes around this Z-Max wall decal right here. This is about it. And when I get on the brakes there, I'm only at about 10%. And we let it drive to the bottom. We don't want to go too early to the bottom, or else it's going to be losing more momentum to keep it on the bottom. But I like to say, if you start at the wall at about the Z-Max and you draw a straight line from you to the apex of the corner from how you see it, that's about the angle that you want. And then by the time you get there, we have our best friend, partial throttle waiting for us. So we wait on the drag, and honestly, this is more like a coast than a drag, because there's just really nothing I can do here, because if I broke more, then I would hit the apron, and if I throttled up more, it would slide up to the wall too early. So just be a tiny bit patient. I know I say always be on one or the other. This is one of those little exceptions where just letting it ride along the bottom will pay some dividends. So right here, you'll see that once I wait just a little bit off both pedals, I now bring it to my best friend partial throttle, 2/3 in this case. And we're just going to hold it there. And then once you're able to start unloading your wheel to make the corner exit, that is when you can go full throttle. So you see here, I unload the throttle and that's when I go full, or unload the wheel and that's when I go full throttle. And that's going to be a real big thing with a lot of these short tracks, is that you never want to put full throttle into your car while you have the original steering angle still in it, because that will cause your rears to disengage, cause you to get loose, cause you to spin. So here, I make the move right there. I make the move starting to get back to center, and at the same time, I'm bringing it to full throttle. And we bring it off the corner, a little loose, but make sure you don't hit that wall in 0x in your qualifying attempt. So I decided I needed to keep it off the wall, and boom. Don't lose any momentum, because there's no straightaway to lose that momentum. So there we go. That's a pretty darn fast lap. Definitely recommend top of 1 and 2, bottom 3 and 4. I think bottom of 1 and 2 is viable, but extremely difficult. So I think this is the best for you guys to shoot for. All right, let's go to the race. All right, so we had a bit of a disappointment here, and it's mainly because of one thing I want to talk to you guys about. So we started first and finished 5th, and we lost all those spots in the last 10 laps, led the first 40 or so, and then right front tire was absolutely gone. And one of the big reasons why it was gone was because I had my brake bias at 67% here. So I could only lower it a bit lower than that to 64, but by the end of the race, it was pretty clear that you really needed that 57% for entry, and I was just turning the wheel way too much in the corners. So we'll take a look at that real quick. So I feel like I ran the first part of the race fairly well. I definitely wore the tires evenly for at least the first 20 laps. Give me a second here. So you see, drag the brake in and just hold it on the bottom. So what the brake bias change would do here is I could drag the brake for longer and then use less wheel here. So this was a bit of a problem even early on. But it didn't really seem like an issue until about lap 30, where I was still running pretty darn good laps. Basically the same laps as everyone else. But once we got to like lap 36 or so, I had massive fall off in the right front. I tried the top, which just exacerbated the problems. That's a good way to make up quick ground on people and pass them. But you see, my car just was not turning. I had to put an exorbitant amount of wheel into it. So real unfortunate there. I wonder if it would have made that much of a difference if I was at 57% brake bias there. I wish I had the chance to check. So definitely start at 63 on the beginning so you don't spin out, but definitely lower it very early on to 57. I might try another race here in a little bit and get back to you guys on a midweek video or an update for all the members. But for this race, I really was hoping to get this win. It seemed like it was the best chance I had at one of these short track wins. But I had this problem a lot at Bristol where I'm really bad at saving the right front. And it's a lot because, I just think it's a lot because I don't drag the brake enough and use too much wheel. And that causes a lot of tire wear. So we did end up getting past quite a few times in the last few laps just because our tires were that bad. They could just drive around me. And that's just a learning opportunity. We'll take a look at what Derek did here. He was the best on tires at the end of the race. So we'll see what he was doing on lap, say 38 here when he was all alone, besides hitting the wall. That's a bad example. But so you can see here, Derek, he gets it really, okay, so he gets it down to the bottom really early and then just uses that brake to whip it around the corner. Very interesting line. Definitely shallower entry, and then just uses the brake to whip it around the corner. That's definitely something to try out for you guys. You see here, brake. Yeah, that's a very good line. So you kind of make the entry almost straight, and then you use your low brake bias to hook it around the apron there. A very interesting line. I would have never even thought of that, to be honest with you. So that could be a way to go about it, and that probably is the way to go about it. But besides that, still fair. I mean, we got a top 5 in a 4.6K split. It's just a little disappointing, but you know, that's what we're here for. We're here to learn, and sometimes you miss a thing at the beginning, and that you get better from it because of it. So anyways, I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thanks again to the wonderful sponsors here. The Trophy Tracks brought a really good car once again. At least we looked good out there, and we definitely looked good for the first 40 laps. And then, you know, even when we're getting past, the paint scheme still looks good. So thanks to them. Be sure to check them out. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and hope to see you all on the track.